Okay, here we go. You're here. All right, so we're gonna go into it. Okay, starting with this one. Um, so good to see you. I see that you're in chat. Um, um, yeah. So obviously, you. It looks like you want to do some illustrations for Hearthstone or card art in general. It looks like you've already started working on that, which is great. Congratulations. Breaking into the industry is like one of the first things, right? Um, so I let's take a moment and clap and cheer for you. So congratulations. Um, is there just let me ask you a question. If there's like a specific piece of art that you want me to go over first, post it up and or let me know. But otherwise, I'm just gonna start going through. Um, and we'll start with this one because I don't see as much art direction on this. Um, and it looks like you've done a few cards for them, which is great, and posted up the ones that you're most proud of. Um, Major issue with this piece right here is just that um, the chains aren't holding the weight of the fire. We've got these chains kind of going on quite a bit of an angle or curving, you know, um, and so they really should be taut and can be the last one. It's more recent. Okay. Yeah. So overall, I just want to say like, yeah, good job. Seeing where you came from even a while ago. Uh, you know, seeing 2018, 2019, uh, and when did you? I don't know when you posted this one, but obviously more recently. Um, just wow, like great, great, great progress. Um, so let's just celebrate that. Um, okay, so um, with your A, B, and C, I mean the I don't know what the brief was on this piece of art, but your A, B, and C are very very similar, right? Um, you you've it's the same chest, just worked out three different ways, three different angles. So if you if you were already given a a character, or in this case a chest, to complete, then you don't really have a lot of options. It's going to be what it is, um, and you're only gonna be able to you're only gonna be able to do so much with it. If but it would be good to see um, eh, you know some different stylizations on the chest if they give you that much freedom. Um, give me four or three different chests um, is maybe what an art director might say. I know you're asking for critique on this one. Um, the difficult thing is, I'm guessing. Well, actually, I don't have to guess. You've already received some art direction on this from somebody, so um, you know you've kind of already got some. Um, but I'm gonna I'm still seeing some mistakes, so I'll go through it. But this keyhole is going to need to follow the shape of the chest. So this hole should be... Oh, okay. Actually, that's not that bad. But on this way, it's not too bad because it's following this line here and this line here. But coming down, it's not. You've got this this outside edge here and this outside edge here, and this inside of the keyhole should be following that same shape, if that makes sense. And the same thing is going to happen for this ornamentation here. It's going to be following the shape of the outside of the edge of the thing, if that makes sense. These eyes, I mean, they're cool, but I don't really know what they're made out of. I don't know if they're if they're gems, if they're real eyes, if you know, what's going on, you know. So I guess clearly defining what they're made out of would help, as opposed to round. If they're emitting light, then kind of show that. If they're not, if they're gems, you know, kind of do that. I think there's still an issue with the center point of this chest. Again, it's that same problem that we were talking about before, where if this is the center, then the midpoint is going to be over here, and we've got no space over here and a lot of space over here, and it's not centered. Then we've got, I guess this isn't as big an issue, but yeah, it's gonna, yeah. Anyways, background is, let's see how much space we have in the background. You know, if I was a art director or something, they might ask for some more storytelling. I mean, you've got the chains and stuff, but yeah. Maybe tell us a little bit more about who opened this chest, what's going on in the background, just a little bit. You know, I get that it's a card and you got to shrink it down real small, but you know, going that extra little bit will definitely help, and it'll look good on your portfolio. And just so many times people are kind of cheap with the extras in the background. So if I were to give you some advice, there it would be. Because I'm a recruiter and not necessarily just an artist or an artist, I'm going to give you some tips on your portfolio, so that you can get a job or get more gigs, get to the places that you want to go to. And so the first piece of advice, which I've told to a lot of people and I'll continue saying, is if you have a piece of art on your portfolio that you're not super proud of, remove it. And my suggestion for culling at least one piece of art is maybe this one. You know, it's just a little less refined. We've got some issues with the fingers. You've grown a lot since then, and you know, just maybe I would at least remove this one, um, and but have a look through some of the other stuff that you've done, and and give it a whirl. Um, Another theme that I've seen throughout your portfolio that you may want to take a look at, and you've addressed it more recently, is your color choice. Certainly back here, um, there is just so much saturated colors, all vying to be the focal point. You've got this pink and this red and the tip of his finger and then this green and skin, and there's so much, right? Um, so I would kind of tone it down a little bit, not fully saturate those colors. Um, you can, if you're having problems picking out a color scheme, what you can do is grab a piece of art that you like. Graffiti writers do this, and they sometimes might pick that piece of art and grab. Obviously, graffiti writers aren't picking other people's graffiti writing. They're picking just a piece of art that they like, and they're saying, "Oh, I like this color from this, and I like this whole piece of art. I'm gonna base my graffiti um, on that color scheme." Um, and then that'll also might give you a tip to some values and stuff like that. And until you get comfortable doing it on your own, it's a quick cheating way to do it. Um, yeah. So, anyways, that's my Cole's notes. Um, if you have any other questions, feel free to hit me up. I'd love to give you more advice or specific advice. Um, and but for now, I'm gonna switch modes a little bit and go to another ad hoc random portfolio. And see what we get. Okay, 3D artist. Um, so do we have okay, here's a rule of submitting your portfolio. Tell me what you want to do and what kind of feedback that you're looking for. I even set up a bot so that it would answer these questions or ask these questions. Yes, you didn't listen to the bot. You ignored the bot. The bot said, "Thanks for submitting your portfolio. Can you tell me what you want to do and what kind of feedback you're looking for?" So, um, I so we're a 3D artist, virtual worlds in the UK, professional experience, working for a furniture cataloging company. My experience is prop art, but I also specialize in 3D. My expertise is in part, but I also specialize in 3D environment art and photogrammetry. You'd like feedback on your environments. Okay, let's take a look at your environments. Okay. Okay. Um, all right. Um, Can you guys hear the background music playing in the background all right, by the way? Side note. Okay. Um, Not a lot going on here. It would be nice to see an unlit version of this at some point, so I can see what's going on. Because I've got the completely unlit version here, but it's also like there's no textures. And then I've got this, but it's so dark, it's really hard for me to see. And then the chair is like the only thing I can see, and it stands out a lot. It's really hard to see what's going on. I can try watching this video. Okay, this is a little better. You shouldn't have a recruiter may not want to won't want to watch a video of your environment. They'd like to just look at it, and then they can just see it and not be directed by the camera, you know, to so they can see the parts that they want to look at and focus on them for a while without having to pause and adjust and stuff. It also just as they're going through like tons of portfolios, they're gonna be kind of in a mode of just looking at photos, and so it just breaks their stuff, and they just don't fit, like they don't want to. It's the same when they're watching videos though. When they're watching reels, animation reels, and then somebody sends them something else, you know, that also like would break um, their groove. You threw off my groove, man. You threw off the Emperor's groove. Okay, so like I'd love to see those books. What's going on with the books? Books are such a interesting thing that you could model and prop model. You don't necessarily have to do a whole scene to get some work in what you're doing. You just want to. I mean, it's great that you've done that, but sometimes you know, one asset or a few different assets will get you a job, and then you'll have more. Extremely underrated movie. Yes, it is. One asset will get you a job, or a few couple assets might get you a job. So yeah, just focus on doing one asset really great. If it's the chair, you know, give me that wear, give me like, you know, those butt prints where if it's an old chair, give me like where the mop, you know, as you're sweeping up or whatever, you know, the discoloration on the bottom of the wood where it gets a little soaked wet, or the every chair, even clean ones, have like about 2 inches at the bottom of them where they're like more scuffed, or grimy. The back of the chair is gonna be clean, kind of, from them continually like grabbing it, and it's gonna be like almost like polished. And then there's gonna be other parts that are like dusty or grosser. Yeah, just but I can't really see it. So I guess presentation is my key point of advice. Um, and then second is to, you know, maybe, yeah, focus and scope. Next step in our Unreal 5, gonna spend a little more time here, and then I think we're doing good on this. Okay, you've done some animating. We've got a very solid blank brick wall. This is kind of a good use of your video because you've got some VFX animated here, but this is a really I don't know why. Yeah, I don't know why you're showing us the silhouettes of the forest. That's not. I mean, you know, I. It's all grayscale and black. Um, this gate is. Think in. You want to think about how this thing was made. Right now, it looks like it was laser cut out of a solid piece of metal, and by like a machine that would be so huge. Like, it's one solid piece of metal. This gate. There's no overlap. There's no. It looks like they took one humongous sheet of metal and then laser cut it and removed all the innards of it. And that's just not how gates are constructed. I mean, if you're going for an otherworldly gate, then that might be a direction that you're going. But then why would you choose to stick with like masonry and 2x4s behind it? So, you know, if this was blacksmithed, then by using sheets of metal, you know, that were forged and bent, hit with a hammer, you know, show us that if the frame was made out of one piece, or you know, four different pieces, you know, one along the bottom, one up the top, and you know, or if it was bent or poured into a mold or something like that, then kind of show us that stuff. Um, I got a problem with some of the texturing here on um, your stonework. These are different blocks, right? And I'm seeing just like a little bit of bleed from one block to the other. You know, where like this crack along this side, it continues into the next brick, and this big dent in this brick continues onto the next brick, and it looks like this continues over here, and certainly this line over here, and these lines here, they're all continuing from the previous brick. If this is masonry, if it was constructed the way I think, like, I'm not a mason, so this might be cut from one large piece of marble and then like scored along the way, which is kind of what you're going for, maybe. But if it's not, and it's bricks with mortar in between, um, which is sort of looks like two, then those bricks are going to be different. You know, they're going to have a different pattern on them. So I would consider that. Um, you're a 3D artist who's working on this. Ooh, it looks like these are mirrored too. Oh no, that's just the same. Um, I, I I see this problem somewhat frequently. Is that um, when you're um, deciding a career path, you can choose, environments or characters, and typically you're going to want to focus on one because you're going to be better at one than the other. Um, and people want to show, hey, I can do characters too, and they do that by creating like um, statues. Um, but I guess like if it doesn't if you're not really really great at characters too, then statues are going to be hard for you, right? And you're going to have some issues. These don't look like um, they're gargoyles that are carved out of stone. They look like characters that are placed on top. If they were made out of stone, the arms would somewhat be attached to the thigh, right? Like, because you wouldn't probably necessarily carve all that stuff out. Um, you'd you'd have it resting on the thigh, and then you wouldn't polish that stone or chip that stone away to get to the spot where we're at. Um, we've got um, some issues with the wings. Um, we've got, it looks like some faceting issues on the model as well, where the curve of the wings um, are a little lower in polygons, and they're really showing those peaks here, if you know what I'm talking about. Um, it's less pronounced along here, but it looks like, um, yeah, I'd like to see a mesh too. Um, if it's for games. Um, but yeah, all right. I hope that helps. Um, okay. Let's. Yes, we can hear it. Um, Hi, sorry for the repeated message. Could I have some feedback on how I can improve my portfolio? Okay. Um, um, so I'm just reading, just catching up with chat. Appreciate all the feedback. Um, Thanks for submitting. The video is unlit. Oh, I see. Extremely underrated movie. Okay, good. We're still good. So let's go to the next person in line. And you're going to need to tell me what you want to do. So you tell me what you want to do, and then I'll, if you've submitted a portfolio, tell me what you want to do with your career, and tell me what kind of feedback you're looking for. So I'm going to jump ahead to this person. Can I have some feedback on my portfolio? I want to be a 3D character game artist, and I am currently a student getting a bachelor degree. Perfect. All right. So 3D character game artist. Okay. Yeah, this looks like a person who is in in school. Because it looks a little unfocused. A little unfocused. It's all character, so that's kind of good. The first thing I would say is breakout, grave encounter, enjoy your ride. I would show us the art that you made instead of the thumbnail being the the logo of the thing. Show us, unless it is the logo, in which case we'll deal with that. But show us the art. We don't want to, as recruiters, most of the time, they're only gonna get this. This is the only thing they're gonna see. They're not gonna dive deeper into your portfolio. They have, thousands potentially of applications, and hundreds by the day, and they can't keep up with the volume and dive deeply into everybody's portfolio. So this is your shot. The loading page of your portfolio is your first shot, and then if they like what they see there, they're going to keep going. And so you want to fill that with awesome images, as many awesome images as you can, but that are of a good quality, really good quality. So I always just go to the most recent thing, and okay. So after a little bit of understanding, I think I know what's going on here. This is the concept art here. And then this is the 3D model here. I would put the 3D model... Because it's so stylized, it's taking me a second, right? Yeah, I would put the... Is this concept? This has got to be concept. Yes, this has got to be concept. I'm sorry. I don't know where my brain is at. Yeah. So I would start with general layout is show me the finished product and then show me the steps that you took to get there. So I would, ideally, you'd give me that final product of the back and front of Spider-Man. You could also pose it if you wanted to. But something, yeah, the back and front would be a great thing to do. And then shrink this really down. Shrink it down very small, because you didn't do this and you don't want to show off somebody else's stuff. If they really fell in love with this image, you you wouldn't get a job, right? They'd be like, oh, who did this? And then they'd find out who did that and give them the job. And that would be great too, I'm sure, because your collaborator would very much appreciate it. But we're talking about you, so the yeah, shrink this down and put it as like a starting spot for them. Um, then we're going over here. Now, Spider-Man, like, it is. I don't usually see feet on Spider-Man, but that's a choice. We'll go with it. Okay. Um, I want to talk to you about poly count. When you're animating or creating assets um, for other stuff or cinematics or whatever, you can spend you could have this huge machine rendering for 12 hours, turning out those frames every second and rendering in Arnold and doing all that stuff to eventually give you your final product. But in real-time game stuff, this we don't have that kind of computing power, and when there's a ton of assets on the screen, then frame rates start to drop. It gets glitchy and laggy, and nobody wants to play your video game. So we have to be really economical about our meshes, our work here, our poly count, and we want to use it in the right direction. If there's you typically see a lot more poly count in the face because people are gonna be looking there, and they're gonna there's gonna be like a in-game cutscene maybe where you're gonna really need to animate it without it distorting and stuff like that. You might see some more poly count around the hands, because you don't as they bend and stuff, I don't know. If there's a really technical piece of the costume or something, you might see more poly count in there. And then of course circles, because yeah, circles suck. And you have to make them not look like you have to make them not look like stop signs. So you have to spend some there, but as little as possible is the idea. Certainly, we've got some problems here. Um, I can't. I'm looking at. I swear I'm not creepy, but I'm looking at this person's feet, and I'm seeing these toenails, and they're so dense with black because of the poly count. I don't know how much poly count is used in there, but it looks like even the toenails are heavily modeled in there, and um, all the individual toes are modeled in there. There's just so much wasted polygon count. We've got a lot of polygon count in the hands. It's hard to see what's going on, and then like ironically none in the face. Which is weird because you'd think that you're gonna have to Spider-Man is always like squinting, or his eyes wide open, or something like that, and so you need a little more polygon count over there. Um, I like the proportions. It's stylized. For where you're at, it looks like that's one of the better points. I really think that um, this wrap is really great. Um, it's definitely Spider-Man, and it definitely looks like a hand-drawn version of Spider-Man, and that's pretty cool. And so I dig that. From the character design, I could talk about character design a little bit, but um, you know, this part bleeds into the cape, um, and so that might be a choice that you don't want to make. But anyways, so next up, see, and I would have skipped that. Um, as a recruiter, I wouldn't have looked at this. If I said, okay, I'm hiring this person for a character thing, and I've got a piece of concept over here. Well, that doesn't have anything to do with what I'm looking at, so I'm just going to move on to the next thing. Alright. What is going on here? Oh, this is gross. In a good way. Yeah. Oh, I don't want to think about this. I don't want to think about this. I don't know. It's gross. I don't know what's going on with the feet. Okay, so you've got some like rotted meat here. I guess I wouldn't like to see it, but the way that and I don't really want to think about it either, but thinking about the way that leather or flesh would decay on a bone, and just giving some thought to how that would stretch. I think this leathery, stretchy stuff is really great for what it is here. You can tell that this is not my style. This is like Diablo-ish things, and I never recruited for Diablo. Because they'd be like, oh, that's so cool, and I'm like, squeamish. So, anyways, yeah, if this is leathery and gross, then how come this is kind of still fleshy and not shriveled? If this is broken bones, I'd love to see like the marrow. I'd love to see the marrow. I wouldn't. I really wouldn't like to see it, but you know, bones have, you know, they have different parts of them as they're broken, so it would be cool to see that. Um, yeah, I don't really know what's going on with the story here. Um, like, why is there these metal stuff going on? This pelvis, uh, there's some weird stuff. And I don't think it's fully explained. If somebody was taking this skeleton and animating it after its death, um, is that kind of what's going on here? Um, then why is there this metal ring? I guess it would. I guess it just makes more sense, like if they're like the hands and fingers, like there's some metal in the fingers, at the hand, you know, those metacarpals, those like these bones in here aren't there. Um, yeah, that's what's up. The back of the knee is modeled with bones, but the front is got these metal pieces. Um, these springs that go along the outside. I guess like I'm not sure what the purpose of them is. Like to if you're attaching two broken bones as like some kind of like a splint. Um, use like real life how doctors would do it. They wouldn't wrap a metal band around like they wouldn't open you up, wrap a metal band around the bone. They'd splint it and put some screws in. I guess that would be my suggestion, to do the same. And then these feet, um, because you've only had a few chunks over here, I don't know. They look out of place, right? They look like they're wearing fuzzy bear slippers, which is fun, but it doesn't really go with the same um, theme as some of the rest of it. All right. Battle 36. I'm looking to be an environment prop artist. Okay. That's fun. It's the 3D model in. Oh, that's the 3D model in Pose. The web swinging pose is the 3D model I did in Pose. It's not a 2D concept. Sorry for the misunderstanding. Oh, wow. No. Okay. This line here? This wrapping around of the string? Like, this is extra stuff then. Like, yeah, it well, I mean, good job. If it was me, good job then. But if it was me, because you've done such a good job, um, break the illusion and show us the background in um, of the gray box, or show us something like because if you've modeled this, like this isn't like this line isn't part of the character, right? You would have had to also model this line, and if that's the case, then show us where the modeled line is. And this is, anyways, but wow, good job. Um, yep, the character is inspired by Five Nights at Freddy's, a horror game. It's rendered in Arnold Toon Shader. Okay. Okay. General career and feedback advice. Okay, John. All right. John. Juno. Oh. Juno? All right. Looking to be a environment prop artist, and I guess I would like some general feedback and career advice. General feedback and career advice. Career advice. That's hard for me to give without context. You want to be an environment prop artist. Okay. So let's take a look at the first piece here. I Do you want to be an environment prop artist for video games or for environment prop artist for cinematics? Okay. An environment inspired by the Fatal Frame series. For this project, I wanted to create an environment that aspired to one of my favorite genres, Japanese horror. Most of the materials are edited Megascan data that was incorporated into a shader using compacted RGB channel masks to add different levels of grime and dirtiness. The dolls are one asset sharing a master material that uses masked out hue shifting to add diversity without having to make slight variations of the same asset. I also learned a lot about Unreal Cinematics, which was used to render the videos. Video games. Okay. I think you've gone too big. This is a big project. This is much easier to understand here. This is a time lapse. So I want to see what's going on with this stuff. I think I can see what's going on with this camera. I don't know the mesh. I want to see the mesh. If I'm recruiting for video games, I want to see what your polygon count is, because that's going to be important. I want to I want to see these dolls. I want to see like some different, I guess, angles. Like I really got to lean in and find out what's going on here. And I still can't really. There's not a really good picture of the mask or the face. Like I'm not really seeing it. So show off your work. You know. You've given us like a bunch of big picture stuff of your work, but also give us some close-ups. You gave us a close-up of the camera, but really want to I want to see all these different assets that you've made. Yeah, that's what I would say. And give us a mesh. We got another video loading. Interesting lighting on this. I'm not sure that's how guitar strings would break, if they are broken, but at some of your process. I'm not also fully not understanding what you. I'd have to read through this in order to find out. Their recruiters aren't going to read a lot. They've got a few seconds with your portfolio. Chances are they're not going to read unless they've already fallen in love, or they think you're close enough. So it's hard to tell what you've done here because there's so much. But let's read. This is one of the environment pieces that is showcased on my company's client portfolio. This project was a month-long collaboration between me and our studio art director. I performed landscaping, world building, and created models such as the water pump, tent, and guitar. Drove our art direction, added the finishing touches, and rendered out the final images. It was a fun experience. I had a lot of helpful artistic feedback and expanded my tool set along the way. Okay, well that's good. So yeah, I want to see that pump. I want to see like a real close up of that pump and find out what's going on. I want to. I even want to get, believe it or not, closer in with this guitar. The hatchet, the pump. Yeah, I just want to see all those individual assets being made and see what's what. And it should be a little obvious from just scrolling through what it is you're doing. I get that it's a huge project. So yeah, just take a few more shots of like the pump, show us the geo, or the poly count, or the mesh. That would be great to see. How we doing? You were not missed. I intentionally skipped over you because you didn't give me, tell me what you wanted. Yes, thank you for telling me what you wanted. And I will get to you now. Wooden chair studio. Okay. Nice. There we go. Try count. That's great. Ooh. Nice. This is what I'm more used to seeing. Okay. Oh, you know what would be really cool if you could do it? Is seeing, like, you see how it's uniformly shiny? Even where there's wear? You know what I'm saying? Like, assuming that this is what I think it is. It's, you know, it's got the way that it's constructed. Going back to, think about the way that this thing was constructed. So you've got the wood, and then you've got the stain, and then you've got like the lacquer finish. And the way that this currently sits, you've worn away the stain, right here, and you've worn away some of the wood, but the lacquer finish is still there. So that's, I guess, one thing that's kind of a little odd. Yeah, there's like these bumps. Like that's from an uneven coat of lacquer, or like the, yeah, varnish applied, and dippling. But then you've got this wear happening here. Um, also, I feel like the wear is in the wrong spot over here. Like, you've got some great wear. This is great wear. It happens at the over here, not so much here. Like, this is a spot that hardly anyone grabs it, or gets worn. You know, um, people grab here. Things bump up against here a lot, but here it's kind of like protected. You know, it's got two branches that are kind of protecting it from wear. It's got this big overhanging lip that protects it from environment issues. So I think it's just put in the wrong spot, which is such a shame because it looks great. Like I friggin' love it. Like, yeah, I can't understand the story that where that gets worn. But cool chair. Um, I I'm definitely appreciating like that you did give some thought to um, the wear on this. Usually, you know, you'd have the two butt cheeks, but you know, it's great. Um, cool. All right. All right. Well, I hope that's helpful. I'm gonna move on to our next portfolio. Thank you for submitting. I would like general feedback for my portfolio. I'm trying to get a role as a 3D artist, environment artist, or asset artist. It would be great if you could highlight pieces which would look good to submit as samples. Okay. And um, and this is for video games. I'm assuming because you reached out to a video game recruiter. Okay. Let's start over here. The matriarch of the Tar Crawlers, a final challenge for miners seeking to profit as she protects her nest containing valuable minerals and ores. So what is this? Um, it's a painting. I can't. I don't know what's going on. The shapes aren't clearly defined. I should be speaking into microphone. Um, when we're making art for video games, there's kind of like a sort of a set pattern of how assets are created. And um, you know, we'd have some concept sketches. Um, we'd have that are used to turn that thing into the model. And I don't know where this particular piece of art fits into that pipeline. Dangers of mining. Okay, so post edit in Photoshop. So again, I think we're running into the same problem. Like, I guess is this visual development? Um, A miner's worst nightmare when they're working. It's great that you've spent some time. I get. Is this visual? The first two are me giving my 3D art a more concept look. It's a new style I'm trying to work with, experiment with. Okay. So are these assets? Are these like these are paintings, right? Okay. All right. Cursed weapon, whisper, the last song. Now, how on earth was this thing made? Okay, so my first impression is that this doesn't necessarily look like a gun. I thought it was like a sword or a hatchet or a club at first. As I look closely, it is a gun. I think partially what throws a viewer off is how unergonomic this is. This handle looks very uncomfortable. This shoulder, this butt looks very uncomfortable. The trigger guard is very rectangular. Usually you would have the trigger, like the trigger guard doesn't usually wrap around the back of the trigger, because it's kind of uncomfortable, right? It's usually modeled into the handle, the grip. Also, it's sort of at an awkward, like you're shooting kind of like at an awkward angle as opposed to, you know. Looking at the materials of this thing, it's a gun, but there's so much wood, and the wood looks like it was all carved out of the same piece. Like, how is this thing constructed? If yeah, typically you wouldn't make, like, you make the butt of the gun out of wood. You can make the grip out of wood, but you don't usually make the sight out of wood, and certainly like the internals, like the this this section of the gun. I mean, it's not made out of wood, but I don't know. Yeah, that's a little hard. So it's carved out of one one giant piece of wood, and even the sight at the top is carved out of. That's, just not how a gun would be constructed, because sights need to be adjusted, right? Like, you would never get it perfectly, so they need to have some sort of adjustment on them, and a way to adjust them. So even if this part was made out of wood, and then but the straps or this tube had a way to be adjusted. And then, like, how did we get the all of this into the wood when it's one solid piece? I guess that's the stuff that I'm looking for. It looks like the barrel of the gun doesn't line up with the hole at the end. Like, this is going along here and then drops down, and the hole is in a different spot. Yeah, because the bullet's going to follow along here. It's going to hit the top of this. Like, if this is the same trajectory, it's going to hit out here and then maybe bounce back into the barrel, and then it's going to, like, exit through the teeth, but it's firmly lower, the hole. Okay. So you should add a little more realism to your work. Yeah, yeah. You have to really think about how the thing was constructed. I tend to primarily just focus on fantasy. Yeah, I see that. It's cool. Instead of telling us how you made the thing or what the thing is, like your process, you're telling us the fantasy of the storytelling, and that's what you're doing here. That's what you're doing there. Um, yeah, but I guess you want both. You want um, you want to be able to, yeah. This is modeled in a realistic way with realistic wood grain. If you were making a different stylistic choice, you might be able to get away with some of the different things that are going on here. Like it's a cartoon, it doesn't matter if the trigger guard is, 10 feet away. Characters have digits that are like, 12 inches long, and their hands don't have to make sense and stuff like that. But if you've modeled something in the real world with, a holy Bible and real books and stuff like that, then you're gonna have to continue on that. Yeah. I work mostly inspired by Dungeons and Dragons. Cool. Yeah, I'm running Princes of the Apocalypse right now for my family. Love Dungeons and Dragons. Chosen, you can just throw a link to it in chat. If you have a link. Okay. I don't know what's going on with the statue room. Cool. If it's for video games, you're gonna need to show us um, the model, not just the finished project. This looks like concepts. Cool. You're asking me which stuff looks like this is, I think, maybe your best work? A shark floaty. Okay. So, this is going to have seams um, where it's going to have a seam from all the way around the edge. It's going to have seams from the different pieces of plastic that happen. You know? Yeah, and it's a process. Thinking about things in a realistic way and um, how things are constructed, how use happens, and all that stuff. And it's something that we're not, as artists, we're not used to thinking about the logical side of things. We're focused on, like, oftentimes the feeling of something and how, like, the emotion that we want to convey, or yeah, the feeling that we get when we pick up a pool noodle in the summer and swack our friends with it. Um, we're not thinking about how it's constructed. If we were, we might not be artists. Um, but when it comes to making assets, we do want to start giving thought to that. And I hope I haven't been too critical. I want to be encouraging. So, um, sorry if I've been too critical. Could I get some feedback on my portfolio, if you have time? I am looking to switch over to a 3D character artist. All right, Shadow of the Tree. Thank you for sharing your portfolio. Oh, okay. Hey, this is cool. And can you tell me what you're looking to do? Awesome. So it looks like, Brian, you've done some modeling. I recognize those paints. Wow, good job. I know this is probably not what you want me to look at, but was this, like, what was this done in? Is this clay? Fill out the back and shoulders with aluminum foil. Yes, of course. Back on details and shoulders. This looks like silicone. Is it like... Yeah, I don't know. Chest details, back and... Chest. This is the Rancor. Yeah, that's really cool. You know, it's so much harder to do this in... This is my opinion. But in a lot of ways, it's harder to do it in person than on a machine. Because you can... Like, once it's finished, if you have problems with the proportions... polymer clay. Once it's finished, if you have problems with the proportions or something, you can, you know, change them in your engine. But doing things in real life, you're stuck. You know, there's no going back. You know. So, creating characters for games based off concepts, but also open to VFX. Okay. All right, we have a mesh. Cool concept reference from the Beginner's Guide to ZBrush book. Okay. This is a model of a cyborg goblin from the cover of Beginner's Guide to ZBrush book. I really like the concept and wanted to follow along in the book and work on recasting the character. Okay, so this is like a tutorial that you've taken? I don't see any VFX stuff here. Ooh. What's this? Yes, that is the only one that is a tutorial from that book. Everything else is done with just a 2D reference. Okay. I'd love to see the reference that you've been working on off of. You can shrink it down and make it small so that that was the block out from the start of the project. I can add descriptions to my images. Cool. Oh, okay. Yeah, this is a nice mesh. I think there's a few places that you could save polygons, you know, on some of these straps, because they're not really going to deform too much. And then I don't know what's going on with this chain. Okay, there might be an issue. Yeah, I think maybe I can't tell how this chain was modeled. Also, the tips of these um, things is kind of, but because it's so white, it kind of teased me off to thinking that this might be incredibly difficult to render for video games. Um, so I can't see what it is, but I would maybe give a thought to um, cutting down all that polygon and simplifying it if it's possible. But again, I don't know what it is. Um, all right, so we got a vest. I like it. I like. You really get that it's a stitched vest. The leather. I mean, I'm not seeing a seam on this piece of garment. So, I don't think there is a seam. Unless it's hidden by his ears, which it is not. But there's got to be a seam on this thing. If it's a leather jacket, um, you know, you've got a it's cut from a few different pieces, so there's going to be a seam. Usually, if it's we're in this world, um, you know, we cut it along here and usually along here. There's going to be, if this was used to be a jacket and they've ripped off the sleeves, then you're going to have like stitchings and stuff kind of along here. It's going to be like there's going to be some evidence that it used to be a jacket, if it indeed was constructed the way I think it was, or if this is just a vest. It might have a way to attach itself to itself. You know, kind of looks like a penny or something you just throw on over top. But yeah, grab some references, and I'd be happy to be proven wrong. But yeah, just give some thought to the how that thing is constructed. The shirt, the same deal. If it's got, like this shirt has like a folded over seam, and this one's getting a little ratty. It has a hole in it, but it's got that 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 seam. It's got seams on it. So I'm just not seeing any seams there. Character. Yeah, looks good. I yeah, it's Jar Jar. So I'm not really too familiar with. I haven't spent a lot of time staring at the Jar Jar model or anything like that. I watched the movies. So yeah, it looks like the skin is realistic, for what it is. Yeah. Another thing I could suggest, maybe you've got enough wear on the bottom of this person's leather jacket that it's fraying and chewed up, but it's clean enough that the big goober fish white stitching hasn't been stained. So that's kind of like a little bit of a difference. But yeah, oh, good work. And should be reduced. Okay, that helps. I did not add the seams. That is a level of detail that I did not fully think about. Thanks. Okay. But yeah, that's cool. I can't wait to see the movies that you're gonna be, or the video games that you're gonna be involved in making for EA or whoever. You know, there's some cool work. It would be awesome. I know that this is just like a small project. It would be awesome if you gave us a full body. I know you're still learning right now, but eventually they're going to want to see that when the time comes. They're going to want to see like that you can do a whole, not just a bust, um, but the whole body. Um, um, yeah, the way that this is laid out, the notorious Jawa, a known species in the. Okay. Yeah, give us some close-ups of the things that you're proud of in here, whether it's the gun or um, the bandolier or what have you, um, and give us a poly count. You know, it might be too much now. Like maybe that's where you didn't do well or something, but it doesn't seem like even at the beginning it doesn't even seem like you have too much of a problem with that. So yeah, I would include the poly count if you have it. It's just yeah, give us yeah, just close up zoom of the bandolier to really sell yourself. Cuz I mean, I don't know how much more this sells it than this, you know. Just more of the turnarounds is just kind of a little bit of a waste. Um, of space, I mean, and time. But yeah, for somebody who's just started, when did you start? 6 months ago. Wow, you're crushing, dude. 3 months ago. So from this to that in 3 months is really, really great. Wow. Wow. All right. Yeah, I've been focusing on this for about a year. Wow. Well, I mean, the dedication is seems obvious to me. Um, this is your first thing. You did the tutorial, and yeah. Okay. Yeah, keep going. I mean, um, seems like you're pretty good at the self-directed learning stuff. So, yeah. I don't know if you need too much guidance, but there it is for you if you want it. Was doing this off and on outside of programming at my other job for a few years. Oh, okay. That is not really my first thing. Haha. but it's the first thing recruiters will see. Okay, yeah, fair enough. All right. So let's try to find another portfolio who's told me what they're looking at. Do we have Chosen here? So send me your links to your portfolio if you're here. There's only 3 of us here. So whoever else is still hanging around, cool. Happy to help you if you want. Now that things have kind of calmed down, chat away, ask me any questions. I'm committed for another 19 minutes. You have me. So if you have any questions, or if anybody, even if I have reviewed your portfolio and you're wanting more questions, give me the information. Happy to do it. But if not, I will take my leave. So yeah. Thanks so much for everybody who submitted their portfolios. I do have a few other posts, but they are just on my Instagram for fun. Works in progress. Okay. Yeah. Hmm. Yeah. I would. So these shiny metal buckles are really shiny, and this is a really dirty guy. So there's a difference that needs to be addressed there. I think. I yeah. This. I would maybe change the background so that it wasn't bleeding in and competing in the same color sphere as the character. You know, either desaturate it or give it a different cooler color or something like that. In terms of color choices, I think that this black with white, I'm not sure how I feel about all this. But anyways, so yeah, I'm gonna cut it there. I've got a phone call coming in, and but thank you everybody, and hope you have a good day. Peace. Hey there, how's it going? Oh yeah, sorry, I've just been busy.